glossed over it. You've hemmed, you'd hawed. You have about 3 hours to go back and edit it if you want, which is, again, the difference in this generation. When you filled out a bracket and you changed your mind, you had to rip that thing up and you had to write all the names over again. Now you just go back, edit bracket. But I have my bracket filled out. I've sent it in to my bracket pool. I will reveal my champion at a later time. Not that anybody cares. I got Houston. I don't know if you find this, Brenden, when you fill out your bracket, but do you ever just because I just get in a flow, and again, I go with my gut, and most of the time it comes down to remembering players of these particular schools in the past that don't play for them anymore, can't help them win any particular time now, but I'm like, yeah, I remember Iowa State back in the day. I love Marcus Fizer. Now, Marcus Fizer famously as a 2-seed lost to, I think it was Hampton. But it was like, somehow, some way. I have no connection to Iowa State. Nothing against the Cyclones or the good people of Ames. But and all of a sudden I'm like, how did I get Iowa State in the Elite Eight? How'd that happen? Do you ever do that when you fill out your bracket or one of your multiple brackets that you fill out? And all of a sudden you get in a rhythm and you're like, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. How did I get this team in? How did this team end up in the Elite Eight? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I fell short of kind of as many as I wanted to do, but got 5 each done. I'm pretty proud of that.
5's good. 5 different champions in every single. Oh, wow.
Yeah, including one on the women's side that is completely biased and has my Oregon State Beavers winning the national championship.
You got to do it. You got to do
just one.
I did pick Oregon to go to the Sweet 16. All right.
Heck yeah, man.
And here's why. I want to root for them.
Don't root against him. You learned that bet today.
Yeah, I've paid off said bet. Brenden has a coffee. If he's got a little extra pep in his step on a Thursday, he is jacked up on fancy coffee that normally reserved for the Friday show. We're still going to have that tomorrow, but I am paying off my my wager. I did not believe that Oregon, maybe I should have bet against Oregon because every time I bet against them, they keep winning. But
should bet against them again.
You at least got to pick your team to win in the first round. They're an 11 seed. They still have injuries. They're still the same team before Vegas. Heading into nothing magical happened in Las Vegas. They hit a pretty good run, but they still have the same problems. They still have the same light bench. They don't have depth. They're dealing with injuries. If Dante gets in foul trouble, they are screwed. But regardless, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put them in the Sweet 16. I'd much rather put them into the Sweet 16 and have them lose to South Carolina than pick them to lose and then have them win and just be like, all right. 1, you feel like a jerk, and 2, you lose some money in your bracket pool. So I've got Oregon go to the Sweet 16. But yeah, with Oregon State on the women's side, filling out the women's bracket, you got to at least pick one where they're your champion.
Well,
you got to do it because,
again,
if they go on a run and somehow, some way, manage to topple who's on their side of the bracket.
Well, here's the thing.
South Carolina on their side of the bracket?
I was just going to say, Justin, there's one problem with that. They've beaten great teams. They've taken Stanford down to the wire. They beat,
Did they beat USC?
Did not beat USC, but beat UCLA and then beat Colorado twice. Lost USC, I think, by 3. But here's the thing, Justin. In the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, one of the two, they'd have to play South Carolina.
Yeah.
And they're undefeated. So that kind of hurts a little bit.
So if Oregon State on the women's side is going to make a run to the national title, they would first have to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame, very good. Then you'd have to beat South Carolina just to make the Final Four.
Yeah, that's a little tough.
Just to make the Final Four, you got to beat South Carolina. Then Stanford maybe likely looming in the Final Four if Stanford gets past Texas. If somehow, some way that happens, well, then there's Caitlin Clark right there.
So, yeah, it's, I'm not going to lie, Justin.
Waiting for you in Cleveland.
One of my, it was kind of cool, one of my women's brackets, and it actually wasn't that big of a stretch with the seeding. One of my women's brackets has 4 Pac-12 teams in the Final Four, and I was like, I'm not going to lie. In the last year of it, because obviously there's 0 to I had to make sure there were four. There are four Pac-12 teams. There's a 0% chance they represent the Final Four in men's, but women's, that'd be kind of a cool thing. But anyway, back to your point, Justin.
Could you imagine what the Final Four on the women's side is going to look like in Cleveland, Ohio, if Iowa and Caitlin Clark make it
a lot
to Ohio?
Sell out. I mean, yeah, it's going to be insane.
And by the way, we talked about this yesterday, and another hey, you want to talk about how the numbers and the marketing and all this stuff, right, with Caitlin Clark. I saw a story by Wright Thompson. He's a terrific writer, and the estimated NIL for Caitlin Clark was $900,000, and Wright Thompson had a profile of Caitlin Clark, and they both basically insinuated it's not there. It's much higher. It's a much bigger deal. And here's why. And I'll tell you why. The women's tournament is an ESPN production, right? ESPN has always had the women's tournament. And you look at the schedule of the games, right? And it's like, oh, all these games, ESPN, ESPNU, ESPN2. Where's Oregon State play? Oregon State on ESPNU tomorrow at 5 o'clock. ESPNU, ESPN2, the Deuce is what they used to call it. Then they realized that's not a good nickname for obvious reasons. Iowa is playing still to be determined in a play-in game. I think the winner of Holy Cross and UT Martin, that game, 12 noon, Saturday, ABC, Network Television. That's a different level. It's a different level. Bonafide superstar, and we could sit and discuss and debate and theorize as to why, but Caitlin Clark in Iowa, like I said, ESPN's going all in here. Now, here's where I would worry. Not too bad, but ESPN has done this in the past where they find an entity and they spoon feed it to us to finally we get sick of it. Some famous examples of this, Tim Tebow. We got Tim Tebow'd. So much Tebow. Back in the day, you could not get enough Tebow.
Was it really all only back in the day, Justin? Because I remember when he was on the Urban Meyer, and it's like, we got to interview the backup tight end with 8 ESPN cameras. Oh, yeah, Tebow.
But when Tebow went from the moment Tebow made the return to college, which was funny that was even a thing, right? Because back then, Tim Tebow at the whatever, I think the spring pep rally or something, and he was like, let's do it again next year. And it was like, Tebow has announced his return. It's like, yeah. Of course he announced his return because he wasn't going to the NFL. A tremendous college quarterback. Maybe the best college quarterback. It's up for debate. I don't believe so, but you throw Tebow in the discussion. People, because of what happened to Tebow in the NFL and then people forget just how unbelievably good he was those 3 years at Florida. But he announced he was coming. From that moment that he announced he was coming back, his senior year at Florida, going into the NFL, getting drafted by the Broncos, having these crazy, ridiculous, unexplainable wins, a.k.a. Tebow time. And ESPN was just like, yep, we are talking Tebow nonstop. This is what ESPN does, right? They find a thing. They have 24 hours to talk about. They're like, it is all Tebow all the time. What's the deal with Tebow? Is Tebow an MVP candidate? Like that, all that stuff was happening. So ESPN has done this before where we talked about Zion yesterday. The last 2 years, it's Zion. When Zion was at Duke and when he blew his shoe out against North Carolina, and then they had to changed, and then he got drafted, and then they changed the bubble thing for him. Like, ESPN has done this. So just be aware that not only will there be a Caitlin Clark apex, there will be a backlash. It's going to happen because ESPN feeds you. There was a time, Brenden, I'm not proud of this, but I was a child. I was eighth grade. Growing boy. Just hit a growth spurt. And can I tell you one of my favorite places to go? I love to go to the Sizzler. I loved it. Your generation, unfortunately, doesn't get to experience the Sizzler. Ask your parents, though. It was a wagon. And there was a thing at the Sizzler where you could have all-you-could-eat shrimp. Little deep-fried shrimp. And I loved them. And I used to eat the you-know-what out of them. And I kept eating and eating and eating until I was like, nope, got it. Parking lot, booted. I love those little shrimp so much, I ate them until I puked. Literally did that.
Sounds awful.
It was great until it was awful.
Yeah, shrimp does not sound like something that tastes good coming back up. Nothing does, but that sounds pretty terrible.
It's pretty terrible. It's pretty bad.
Seafood, I think, is bad come back.
I don't even want to. Let's not get into that debate. Let's not
Power
start
rank
that.
the worst
We
things
don't
to
want to
puke.
start people's March Madness morning off with what's the worst food to throw up. That's terrible. But I ate so much of the. ESPN does. They feed oh look, they love the Caitlin Clark. They love the Jordan versus LeBron debate, right? Deion Sanders has Colorado 2-0. Is there a path to the playoff? Is Shedeur going to win the Heisman? Is Shedeur going to be the number 1 overall pick? Is Deion going to be the next coach at Alabama? Enough. It's going to happen with Caitlin Clark, and it might happen over the next couple weeks. Not her fault, our fault, and ESPN's fault. But 12 noon, ABC, a 116 game in the women's college, in the women's NCAA tournament. A 116 game on network TV. Noon on a Saturday. And it's going to draw eyeballs. I think like I said yesterday, McAfee's show is going to be there, broadcasting live from there. ESPN's going all in because they see the money. They see the dollar bills. They see the eyeballs. Other stuff to dive into. All right. Is this the best 2-day stretch in all of sports? Or is there anything out there that can compete? Are we having recency bias, or are we right now in the moment with the best 2-day stretch in all of sports? We will discuss and debate coming up next. But one thing that is not up for debate, well, that's that DeBella is Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. That's right. Your home improvement should start and end with DeBella, because in 2024, if you are thinking about trying to save some money, they can help you update your roof with solar shingles. They can also update your home with energy efficiency that you see, boom, savings right there on your energy bill. Speaking of energy bills, this might be going up soon. Maybe now is the time to maybe get a little energy efficiency and save some money on those rising energy bills. DeBella can help with solar shingles, updating your windows, getting rid of drafts. Keep the hot air in, and when the weather turns here in a couple of months, keep that AC in as well. They can help you find federal and state incentives. They've got all the details. So contact DeBella for easy, free, and convenient estimates. Of course, they're scheduled right on a time that works for you. 15,000 5-star reviews. I talk about that every single day because that's a big, giant number. So contact DeBella and take advantage of their amazing financing opportunity of 0 down and no payments until 2025. That's on approved credit, but 0 down and no payments until 2025. Look, there's still a lot of 2024 left. Contact DeBella for a free, no-obligation appointment today. DeBella, the experts in Oregon for roofing, windows, siding, and bath. All right, so we are a couple of hours from games tipping off, and we will then be inside the March Madness. And I know I get very, very excited about this time of year. It is my favorite 2 days in sports. But I was trying to think, like, is there a better 2 days of sports? Now, we talked about it yesterday that the thing about March Madness is it is truly a perfect storm. It is a perfect storm of on the first 2 days. One, you feel like you're cheating a little bit because you're watching games at work, right? Whether it's 9 a.m. or 9:15, I think the first game tips off here, or if you're even on the East Coast, it's noon on a Thursday and you're watching games, you're paying attention to games. You got that. There's a lot of people that play fantasy football, but not everybody plays fantasy football. Everybody I know has got some sort of bracket filled out. Whether it's free or it's $5 or it's $100 or maybe a little bit more. Everybody's invested in games featuring teams that, quite frankly, you don't know about. It has a very kind of an Olympics feel where it's like, yeah, that's my team. It's like, but you don't care about swimming. I don't care. This guy's Team USA. It's like, well, you don't care about Creighton basketball. Yeah, but I picked them in my pool. So you get the rare scenario where kind of almost everybody in the sports world is fixated and focused on this one thing. Like you can go to hey, it's baseball in October. This is the best time of year. It's like, I'm into football. Like I'm dealing with the NFL right now. I'm dealing with college football right now. And not everybody is fully invested in playoff baseball. But for these next 2 days, almost everybody I know has filled out a bracket. There's going to be games on in the mornings, in the afternoons, in the evenings. Then on top of that, you get David versus Goliath. Still the best story in sports. Maybe the best story, from the Bible.
Did you ever know anybody, Justin, who didn't fill out brackets?
I'm sure I have known someone
who
was a contrarian. I'm sure I have. Now, I do remember I interviewed a guy. Oh, darn it. I forgot his name. Anyways, ESPN guy, Scoop Jackson. You remember that guy?
Yeah.
So I interviewed him one time about his and he was like, no, he said brackets got too much for him. And it was just I'm not enjoying the games. I'm not enjoying the tournament. I'm seeing buzzer beaters and upsets and Cinderellas, and I'm sitting there being mad about my bracket. And so he just cold turkey quit, which I could understand. I've thought about that. I thought about is it better to not fill out a bracket because you get these games down to, or even more so, filling out a bracket. Is it better to have your bracket busted early? Then you can just kind of enjoy it because it's like there's no chance after that if you get your bracket busted early.
True. Again, this won't happen, but let's just throw this out there because, again, Purdue last year. So let's just say, Justin, that Wagner beats North Carolina. They play?
Yeah, Wagner plays North Carolina.
Okay, yeah. So say Wagner beats North Carolina. Not going to happen, but say it does, right? Maryland, Baltimore County, the Golden Retrievers did it, man.
They did it to Virginia.
So it can happen. But Justin, how many brackets would be busted with just one game? If that was the case. One result can bust 97% of them.
Okay, so I think the biggest bracket buster game would actually be tomorrow.
Ooh, let's discuss. That'd be fun.
Because I believe UConn has according to ESPN, I think UConn has the most picks to be champion in ESPN's tournament. I think they are right now the leaders.
24.7%, Justin. Good call with.
So if the Stetson Hatters.
With Houston, number 2 at 13. So 11% believe that's a pretty big gap.
So if the Stetson Hatters out of the great state of Florida, you love Florida, shout out to anybody that went to the great University of Stetson. One may be in our listening audience right now. I don't know if he's up or not. But if the Stetson Hatters managed to pull off the upset against UConn, that's a quarter of the bracket's gone. Just gone. And more than a quarter, it's like, think about if you had UConn in your final game or if you had UConn in your final four, right? It just that would be the ultimate bracket busting game, which was me a handful of years ago. And this is where, like, I've always wondered, like, is it better to not fill out a bracket? Because I remember, I think it was 2019 when Virginia lost to Maryland, Baltimore County. I was at the Fields Sports Bar down in the Pearl. I lived right around the corner, and enjoying some chicken wings and some fries and watching. And I'm like, everybody around me is losing their mind because Maryland, Baltimore County is about. And I'm like, my bracket is done. It is done. It is like this is the worst. What? And I didn't enjoy any of it. But yeah, Stetson would be the biggest, I think, bracket buster because UConn is in
You're totally right. Yeah.
A quarter of the brackets. But that would be tomorrow, late morning tomorrow. But crazy stuff. Well, that's like last year. Arizona lost to Princeton last year. 15-2 upset. I think it's only happened 5 times in the tournament. A 15 has beaten a 2. We know that a 16 has beaten a 1 now twice. I think a 15 beating a 2 has only happened 5 times. And it happened last year. But nobody remembers. Or you have to kind of be reminded. Arizona was not the team with egg on their face because Purdue that exact same day lost to Fairleigh Dickinson. We had that last year. So, initial question. Is this the best 2 days in sports? Here are some other contenders. I would say week 2 of college football, week 1 of NFL, Saturday, Sunday. Now, sometimes week 2 will give you terrible game. Like usually you get these big marquee matchups on Labor Day weekend, but there's no NFL football on Labor Day weekend. So that first Saturday college slate, you still might have some marquee matchups. And then the Sunday, first week 1, NFL football, starting at 10, going all the way to Sunday Night Football. That's a tough 2-day stretch to beat. It's a tough. I think also in the discussion, not as much, I think, nation, but the Saturday, Sunday of the Masters. Saturday, Sunday of the Masters. But here's the thing, and this is the secret sauce of the NCAA tournament. We could have a Masters leaderboard that doesn't have the big names. And you're like, nah, I'll check in on Sunday. It doesn't matter what goes on today. There will be something exciting that happens. There's going to be an upset. There is going to be a close call. There's going to be a buzzer beater. There's going to be a controversy. It's just the sheer volume of it. And much like the best part of bowling, I'd never forget when I was a kid, first time you went bowling and you bowled the ball down there and you're like, you got 2 pins. And bowling was like, give it another shot. By the way, tip of the cap to the dude I don't want to say dude. Maybe it wasn't a dude. But tip of the cap to the person who invented bowling. Because it's just you didn't get them all. What's the purpose of the game? Big, heavy ball, roll it down there, knock 10 pins down. All right, well, I didn't get them all. Try again. Just give it another shot. After 2, it's that's the best part about these 2 days is we're going to have March Madness all day today. All day today. Then
bowling dates back to ancient Egypt, Justin. It's a long time ago.
Ancient Egypt, huh?
Yep.
King Tut, huh?
3200 BC they found bowling balls.
Probably
Or
still
modern or early versions, I should say.
probably still didn't fit right. You go to a bowling alley, like never find one that fits my hand.
Oh gosh, no.
Never find
No,
one.
Not at all.
Who are the crazy freakazoids who they they drill the holes in for the hands
That's a fantastic question.
at the Big Owls? You know what I mean? Like, you ever go to Big Owls and you're like, all right, or Grand Central? Have you ever done the Grand Central?
No, never been there.
Dude, that's fun. You get a bunch of
at?
people, go to Grand Central Bowling. Super fun. Get the drinks flowing. But, like, I don't know who the freakazoids with the hands that are, like, you can never find one. Anyways, tip of the cap, ancient Egypt. Did the aliens help them with bowling, too? Like they did with the
Low-key.
pyramids?
They're like, hey, you guys are going to have this in the future. Let's just bring it back to you now.
How'd they have the time to build the pyramids and invent bowling? Like, something doesn't add up.
Amongst many other things.
Something doesn't
Like
add up
shoes.
here. But no, that's the beauty of the tournament, right? Is that it's going to be going on all day. And like, whew. Tonight we wrap it up. We're like, oh, but wait, there's more. Just like an old infomercial back in the 90s. Oh, you think this is great. But wait, there's more. We're going to give you a full set of steak knives as well. It's like, we're going to give you a whole nother day tomorrow to run it back. It's the best. I'm so excited. All right. Obviously, I'm pumped for the Oregon game later on today. Like I said, Dana Altman is Lloyd Christmas. He traded the Shaggin' Wagon in for a moped, and he has totally redeemed himself.
Get 90 miles a gallon on this hog.
Exactly right. That's how, and I feel like Harry Dunn sitting there in Nebraska going like, I thought the Rocky Mountains would be more rocky. And like, here comes Dana Altman going like, I got you 3 wins in the pack. Totally redeemed yourself.
Dana Altman's like, still want to go to the Pac-12 or still want to go to the NCAA tournament if you got room for one more.
Exactly right. That's exactly what he's done.
It's absolutely great.
And so now I'm all in on Oregon. It's all it took was 3 wins. They play tip-off 1 o'clock. I think it's just a 1-point spread.
That's close.
In that game. Let's check it out. What is 1.5? Oregon favored. South Carolina initially favored. Oregon now favored by 1.5. So a lot of Oregon money. Because they are not like a typical 11 seed, right? Usually, like the typical 11 seed is kind of like New Mexico is, or like I think Duquesne is an 11 seed.
Dude, shout out LeBron's high school coach in Duquesne, man. I'm pulling for them this tournament too.
But like from what I understand, like Duquesne should have been like they're 24-11, and they kind of got jacked being an 11 seed. Like a lot of people thought they should have been on a higher line.
Not a lower seed, a higher seed.
A higher seed.
Oh, gotcha.
But Oregon, like, is one of those, like, they've got 5-star players. They've got legit talent. They just have been hurt, and those injuries have led to inconsistencies, and now they're playing, obviously, clearly their best basketball, and that's how you get an 11 seed in a situation, like, usually that's mid-major territory right there, right? And the way that mid-majors will beat you is usually it's a senior-laden team that has been playing together. They know how to win. They know how to close out games. It's the familiarity. It's the whole team chemistry thing. And then usually you'll go up against a team like, like a Texas Tech or an Illinois who is like massive amounts of talent. Well, Oregon is an 11 seed. Outside of UConn and Kentucky and, I mean, they just beat Arizona and Houston. Like, Oregon can match you talent for talent. Right? Is there a more physically talented player in the league other than Nafali Dante? Right? That guy, like, Oregon has the horses and it's just, can they put it all together? And
in the league or in college basketball, probably Zach Edey. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, but exactly.
Yeah. Like other than that, yeah. Dante's probably top 3.
What 11 seed team is going to have a matchup nightmare like Dante? And again,
agreed.
The difference is they haven't played consistent all year. They've had problems with defending, had problems with shooting, and all that stuff. But they pose an interesting matchup problem with South Carolina. And then, And who knows? Maybe they don't win this afternoon. But if they do, then you got Creighton sitting there. Doug McDermott, coach of Creighton, former assistant coach to Dana Altman at Creighton. So here's the other team I'm interested in. Gonzaga's been sleepy all year. And a lot of people have Gonzaga as the 12-5 upset because McNeese State comes in. They're 30-3. Now, again, nobody should be listening to me when talking about brackets because as I've mentioned, I have won once.
Who's McNeese State's coach, though, Justin? Do you know? I actually learned this yesterday. Kind of added a little intrigue to me for them.
I have no idea who McNeese State coaches. I know a lot of things about sports. I cannot say that I am familiar with are they the Cowboys, the McNeese State Cowboys head basketball coach.
Mr. Will Wade, who used to be at LSU during the Ben Simmons thing. Before that was at VCU. So Will Wade, remember he was basically fired for what now is NIL like 4 or 5 years ago and was a really good coach. It's like, oh yeah, McNeese, they've lost like 3 games. But yeah,
he was also the one that at LSU essentially gave Ben Simmons' brother a job.
He did.
And that guaranteed Ben Simmons was going to come to his school. They didn't even make the tournament. And LSU's like, look, if we're going to cheat, we better win. Okay? If we are cheating, we are not going to the NIT. You are fired, sir. Well, McNeese State's got 30 wins. They're going up against Gonzaga. Zags are 6.5-point favorites, but a lot of people like that 12-5 upset. Is this the year like Gonzaga makes another run? Because usually the last couple of years, right, with Drew Timme, right, and all that, like they were like 1 and 2 seeds, and now they're a 5 seed. I'm very intrigued by Gonzaga this year.
Not so much. Not to say that they can't, but like there are just other teams that I like more this year. I actually don't even like them more than St. Mary's, right, out of their own conference. So there could be something there. I do like that potential upset. Gonzaga has been known to maybe drop a game early, so that could be interesting.
And then we're going to talk to Jim Moore coming up in hour number 3. Washington State, they are 1.5 dogs. They're the 7 seed, but they're 1.5 dogs. They're taking on Drake. Where's that game at? I had it pulled up. That game's in Omaha. So they're going to be in Omaha, Nebraska, taking on the Drake Bulldogs. I'm fascinated with what the Pac-12 does. I'm ready for the Pac-12 to just lay a big fat egg, and because of the way this conference has been. But you got Oregon favored, Washington State just 1.5. Colorado gets the win yesterday, and then you got Arizona, who's looking to make their first Final Four since 2001. So whole lot more March Madness talk coming up later on in the big show. We are going to shift gears a little bit. Blazers got a lesson last night. Hey, you want to be one of the best teams? Take a look, because the Clippers are starting to figure some things out. But other news and notes around the NBA. Did Dame go off last night?
In a loss, though.
Oh, in a loss, though. Does it even really matter? Like, the playoffs are like 3 weeks away. But we are going to go into Round Ball Rock NBA news and notes coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. Blazers take a loss last night to the LA Clippers. Good news. They get another chance to try tomorrow or Saturday? Saturday. They get another chance to try game against the Clippers on Saturday. Hopefully it goes a little bit better for the Blazers. But, yeah, the three-headed monster, if they stay healthy, I mean, I still think the Nuggets are the best team in the West. But if the Clippers stay healthy and can figure it out in the postseason, by figure it out, the balance between Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden, which they kind of have. I don't know. They're going to be a tough out. They are. They're going to be a tough out. Gambling stuff going on in the NBA. Potential sign stealing going on in the NBA. How has that happened? We got a lot of news and notes to talk about with Round Ball Rock. And for that, we need some Tesh. All right, you ready for this? The Minnesota Timberwolves had an employee fired, arrested, and charged with felony third-degree burglary for allegedly, because obviously still an ongoing investigation, stealing thousands of internet files, including strategic NBA information from a team executive, according to a criminal complaint filed Wednesday. Somak Sarkar, I'm sure I'm butchering it, who previously served as a coaching analyst for the Timberwolves, is in custody and faces a court hearing this afternoon in Minnesota. The Timberwolves told ESPN that they were aware of the allegations and no further comment. We got Spygate going on in the NBA.
Except none of those people went to prison.
And no, they never did.
Yeah, like this
guy went to, well, that's why this was an inside job. That's how you end up going to prison, right?
Which is kind of interesting because, like,
it was an inside job.
Like, back in the day, like,
how much do you hate the Timberwolves if you're like, hey, I work for the Timberwolves? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to steal some internet files. What was the plan here? To sell them, like, on the open market?
Again, Justin.
Like, hey, Oklahoma City, you want scouting reports?
I think that Adam Silver and Roger Goodell are two of the most powerful people in not just sports, but just around. And it's like, this tells me that the NBA, this is not a good look for the NBA, and they might make an example out of this dude.
Well, he stole the...
He doesn't even have an attorney. Well,
I think he stole like a hard drive from executive vice president who oversees the analytics department.
Yeah, what were you going to do with it, though?
That's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm asking. What's the, like, if you were another team, would you want to know the, like what special analytics there? I don't know. Was it a shakedown? Was it?
I'd rather have the recipe to Coca-Cola, to be honest. If we're you know what I mean? If we're gonna shake down something, like,
if you ever got a hold of that, Brent, you would disappear. You would disappear if that ever happened.
Classic.
But so apparently the drive contained personal financial information as well as private information for the team, including employment and player contracts. But player contracts those are all pretty public. But I guess employment contracts. Dude left the hard drive plugged into his laptop. Hard drive was missing. Subsequent surveillance reviewed by security. By the way, don't do anything at work. There's cameras everywhere. I'm amazed that people commit crimes anymore. Like, there's cameras everywhere. Anyways, I thought that was a fascinating story. Just going to grab the hard drive of executive vice president as a low-level staffer. And now I am charged with third-degree burglary.
Enjoy prison.
Where's that public defender? He's late? Oh, okay. All right, what else is going on in the NBA? This thing with J.B. Bickerstaff, he's the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, former Oregon State basketball player, J.B. Bickerstaff.
Is he available
as a
coach, or
no,
is he happy with the Cavs?
He's with the Cavs now. They might win the NBA championship.
Sorry, asking for friends.
Yeah, you can't afford him.
Asking for friends, plural.
Yeah, you still can't afford him. Cleveland Cavaliers coach J.B. Bickerstaff said he received threats from gamblers last season, reported to the NBA while being asked yesterday about sports gambling because there is a new thing now, right? Apparently on NBA League Pass, they are connecting with DraftKings to where it is now much, much more convenient while watching NBA games on the League Pass app, because you know how hard it is to go out of the app into the other app on your phone, make a bet on a game. But apparently the NBA wants to streamline it because the NBA ratings aren't so good. They're still making a lot of money, and they're still obviously internationally. They're doing just fine revenue-wise, but we see the ratings. We see the numbers. And I think the NBA is leaning in heavily into the gambling, but there's no free lunch in this world. And the more and more you start making gambling a part of it, the more and more people are going to get more and more desperate and angry and out of their own minds. Because J.B. Bickerstaff said, gamblers got my telephone number. We're sending crazy messages about where I live and his kids and all that kind of stuff. This is a dangerous game and a fine line that we are walking for sure. Here's the thing, Brenden, we can't unspread the gambling peanut butter. It's done, right? I know that it's not every single state. And we have talked about how I think, much like in the thought in college football was if you just get it above the table instead of under the table, that's going to make it easier to regulate. But you still have plenty of people, whether it's the app on their phone or whether it's a bookie in a bar, that are making very, very silly decisions with the money that they are wagering. And those silly decisions can maybe lead to some shenanigans, shall we say. Do you like the NBA completely leaning into this gambling thing? I kind of liked when the leagues were just like, no, we don't talk about it. We know everybody's doing it.
Yeah, you know, as someone who...
And now it's just like, no, gamble on it.
Yeah, as someone who's a proponent of it, I just, like Justin said, unfortunately in today's world, you have to look at things from a worst case and cynical perspective.
You got to think like a scumbag, like I tell you. People don't think like scumbags. They always think like the nice guy.
Like I said, I and Justin think about the positives of sports gambling. But then you read this story like you did about J.B. Bickerstaff, about how some gamblers were threatening he and his kids. And I hate to say it, Justin, that is some mafia-level type Las Vegas in the 1950s gambling. You know what I mean?
But it's not, and it doesn't even have to be that way. It's internet mob, right?
Yes,
not Italian mob that we saw in the movies. It's internet mob, and you know we've seen these people. They get on the internet and they go crazy, whether it's from politics or gambling or whatever, and just lose their mind. All right. Yeah. Speaking of losing our minds, it's madness. March Madness is here. Oh, that was pretty good. We've got a whole second hour coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Oh, just had a Cliff Bar. Almost went down the wrong pipe. Happy March Madness Day, everybody. The Portland Trailblazers, they fell to the Clippers last night, 116-103 at Moda Center. They are right back at it. Coming up this weekend, they'll be taking on the Clippers again on Saturday. First four concluded last night. Grambling State gets an overtime win as they get the victory over Montana State, erasing a 14-point second-half deficit. And Colorado beats Boise State for the first win for the Pac-12. Colorado now gets into the field of 64, which tips off in 2 hours and some change. Oregon will be facing off against South Carolina. That's a 1 o'clock tip time. And Washington State will be facing off against Drake. That is a 7:15 tip time later on this evening. Speaking of Washington State, friend of the program from KJR Radio in Seattle, Jim Moore, joins us in Hour 3. But Hour 2 starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Myers. It is March Madness Thursday. We may dive back into the brackets. I will say this, like, I am excited for the games to get going. I was excited last night to fill out my bracket. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, other than Oregon and maybe a couple of Pac-12, I don't really care about the breakdowns. You know what I mean? Like, it's a team matchup. And it's like, I don't know. I don't care. I want to see buzzer beaters. You know, I always joke about, being the most transparent guy in radio. I'm open and honest. Like, I'll tell you, basketball-wise, right? I want dunks and threes. I don't care. Like, have you seen some of the clips from the new LeBron James, JJ Redick podcast? It's going to be a doozy. They spent, 7 minutes breaking down, this inbounds play. And it's like, oh, okay, great. Really didn't need to know that. That's 7 minutes of my life. Like, I don't need the X's and O's. I just want dunks and threes. Like, that's what I'm pumped up to see. And with the March Madness brackets, I want to see Cinderellas. I want to see upsets. I want to see, even if my bracket gets busted in a couple of hours, I'm good with that. Just entertain me. Now, I got Houston winning. Why? I don't know. I didn't think UConn could win back-to-back because the last time somebody won back-to-back, it was 2008. I want to say 2008, Florida. Joakim Noah, Al Horford,
Billy D,
Billy Donovan, who just
Al Horford, Big Al,
Corey Brewer.
That team was stacked. I mean,
and it's like one of the last teams. Which is amazing that UConn is back to being as great as they are, because usually when you get a stacked team like that, well, then they all go to the NBA, and they all came back.
I missed another big one, Joakim Noah.
Boy, I said him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I thought we missed Joakim, but yes, yeah, that team is stacked.
No, yeah, Joakim Noah, you had Al Horford, and you had Corey Brewer, that other shooter, the guy that
Walter Hodge, Torian Green.
Yeah. That dude.
Maurice Spates, he had a good NFL, NBA career too. Yeah, good team, but I think you're right.
Like, that was the last team that was a back-to-back champion, and I was like, so I can't pick UConn. I don't trust Purdue. I don't trust Purdue, and I'm not saying they're going to lose to Grambling and go back-to-back, but I'm just like, I'm not trusting Purdue.
Do you know there's only two times it's happened in your lifetime? So
What's that?
So the back-to-back champions. If I'm doing my math correctly, only twice in your lifetime.
I believe, obviously, one was Florida and was Duke.
91-92.
Yeah.
So I believe when UCLA had done their back-to-backs, I don't think you were on this earth yet. So I think we're good.
No, I don't think so. But
I think we're good. But yeah, it's a long time ago, man.
How nuts didn't UCLA win 8 in a row?
They won 64, 65, and then 67 to 73. So if I'm doing my math right.
So they won 6 in a row.
68, 69.
Maybe 7. It's 7 in a row.
Yeah. No biggie.
How nuts. They won
John Wooden, man.
They won 7 in a row.
Which, knowing what we know about March Madness now, is maddening.
And since then, 2 teams have won back-to-back. That's
the NFL's made it easier.
That's insane. That is absolutely. So I didn't pick UConn. Like I said, I don't trust Purdue. I don't trust any of the Big Ten schools. Are
you Big Ten biasing your future conference, Justin?
Yeah. I am.
Oh, wow. Okay.
100%.
Okay. I like it.
Who's the last, Big Ten school that you remember in the tournament, actually living up to the billing? Like Illinois, Michigan State with the...
I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but Wisconsin, the year that they had Sam Decker and...
Yeah, lost to Duke, right?
And Frank Kaminsky. Remember that team? Goodness gracious. Frank Kaminsky was a 7-footer that could shoot threes. They're like, oh, yeah, he's going to be a top 5 draft pick.
It is...
Didn't work out.
Brenden, it is so weird.
But yeah,
I do
Wisconsin,
have,
probably.
Especially in basketball. I do have this Big Ten bias, and I'm like, my team's going to the Big Ten. It's so weird. It hasn't quite sunk in. Brenden, I have purchased tickets for Big Ten football next year. I got them.
Hope you're ready for that Michigan State game.
Oh boy. The Ohio State game might be a little bit higher up on the priority list, but I have tickets purchased to watch Big Ten football. That still hasn't quite sunk in. It's so weird. It is such a weird, odd thing.
You got nothing in Michigan State, Northwestern. I'm trying to think of the other teams. Illinois. They were a popular upset a couple years ago.
But yeah, I just have this Big Ten bias.
Nebraska.
So I'm not picking Purdue. North Carolina, I always end up picking because I love Michael Jordan. And when I was a kid, I loved North Carolina. I thought they had the coolest gear. So I always wore North Carolina stuff. I took a senior picture with the North Carolina shirt. My mom was not happy. Not happy. I also had other nice shirts in my senior pic. Do you do senior pictures? Is that
I did.
One of the silliest things we do as a society is taking senior pictures and here's something that in 10 years is going to embarrass you.
Yes. I hate my pictures now. Absolutely hate them.
Nobody likes them because they're always dated because you get these small town photographers who have all these ideas of here's what's new. And it's
pretty much.
Yeah, but in 10 years, nobody's going to be doing that. Anyways.
100% could not agree more.
It was our thing was lean on the elbow. I have one where I'm
oh, yeah. I think I do too.
Not surprisingly, wearing a Tommy Hilfiger polo shirt because it was 1998. Not popped, not collar popped, and I'm leaning. You did a lot of elbow leaning. I don't sit like this. So why am I taking a picture where I'm leaning on my elbow? YouTube just got themselves a show right there. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. March Madness is going on. But there's other things going on in the world of sports. I said, Brenden, a couple weeks ago, I said, man, Deion Sanders, Colorado, they've been awful quiet lately. As opposed to what we saw last year, which, Deion coming in hot, right? Everything on Instagram. And then you saw the Travis Hunter and Shedeur, which you knew Shedeur was going to be transferring, but Travis Hunter also transferring in. And the spring game that was, and him dancing with the cowboy hat. And I was like, man, boy, Deion Sanders has been awful quiet for a guy. And I'm like, did maybe 4-8, did maybe going 1-8 in his final 9 games, turns out no. Deion's back. He is back with a vengeance.
He just had to get out the book tour, baby.
Deion Sanders said yesterday, he said that if Shedeur Sanders would have entered the NFL draft, he would probably be taken 2nd overall.
Okay.
That guy said he's back. Deion Sanders. He wouldn't have been the first quarterback off the board. I think he had the ability, but he probably would have been the 2nd quarterback off the board.
So you're assuming he's better than... Okay, let's take out Drake May because you know my thoughts on Drake May. But you're assuming...
Well, Jaden Daniels sounds like he's going 2nd.
Well, that's what I said. You're assuming he is better than the Heisman Trophy winner.
Wait for it. So the only reason I know that, don't you think I know people in the NFL? I'm sorry. This is Deion saying this. I played for how many years? 14? Got a gold jacket at the crib. I think I know some people. Jerry Jones, Arthur Blank. I know some people in the game. Roger Goodell. So when I speak, I'm not just throwing stuff out of my head. I'm throwing stuff based on knowledge. So let's just get that straight. This is what Deion Sanders said yesterday after saying that Shedeur Sanders would be the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. Well, then what's he doing back in
what's
Colorado?
legal?
If you're if you want a career in football and you have a chance to be the number 2 overall pick, what are you doing?
We sure, there's lots of things, Justin, that are legal in Colorado. You sure we're not real high up in the mountains with the prime, maybe some prime greens, if you know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking at that and I'm like, what are you smoking?
Shedeur Sanders said he didn't consider leaving Colorado last season because it didn't feel right, didn't end the right way. Well, it's not going to end the right way this year.
No. Good luck in the Big 12.
You're excited for about 6 wins, maybe, if you go to a bowl. That Meineke Car Care Bowl is going to become a Collin, but they're going to opt out because there's no way that they're going to go play in a minor bowl game. But
then again, Caleb Williams' his first pick off what, 6-6 or 7-5? What did USC do this year?
Yeah, but he had 10 wins the year before.
That's
won
fair.
The Heisman Trophy. I think that was kind of.
But USC was massively terrible this year outside of Caleb Williams. So it's like, yeah, that's interesting.
When is everybody going to realize this is such a grift? Have we figured it out right that that this is just a different version of LeVar Ball? Like, the only difference is LeVar Ball had no ability. Deion did, and LaMelo was Rookie of the Year. Like, I think Shedeur Sanders was a good college quarterback, right? He would have been the second pick in the draft. Well, then why would you hold him back? Why would, if he's so talented and is good enough to be the second pick in the draft right after Caleb Williams, that isn't it almost a massive disservice? Forget about the father-son thing, which is tough to do. Could you imagine any college football coach in America telling the potential number 2 overall draft pick, hey, you need to come back because I want to get you to the number 1 pick? That's what Shedeur says. The only reason I came back didn't end right, and I want to be the first pick off the board. All right, well, you have a completely revamped offensive line because you kicked off all your old offensive linemen because you put the blame on all of them. You clearly were not ready for the big boy football league. That was pretty apparent when I was at Autzen Stadium back in September and watched Oregon dismantle you. Give it up for Deion. He's back. Brenden, he is back. Don't ever change. Don't ever change, Deion. Also went on. He talked a lot yesterday.
The book tour again must be over, Justin. It must.
It's continuing. It's continuing. I don't know if the book tour is continuing, but he also said when asked about why he doesn't have any in-home visits. Remember we talked about that last week. Deion Sanders is not recruiting in-home. He said, I have never heard of one guy say, I chose this college because this coach came by my house. Have you? I can't do the things other coaches can do. You know why? I'm Coach Prime, and I didn't stutter when I said that. I don't know what that means. So apparently he's too famous, is what Deion Sanders says. He's too famous to do in-home visiting. Definitely not too self-involved to be going on, he can still go to like a Barnes & Noble and do a book tour like we just said. He can't go to 5-star defensive tackle's house and say, hey, come play for me. No. This whole thing's going to blow up. It really is. Either that or I'm going to look like a fool. They're going to go 10-2 next year or something. And maybe he's got the whole thing figured out. I don't know. There have been disruptors in the world of sports. There have been disruptors in the world of politics where you go that's not going to work. I can think of one. But just when we thought it was getting quiet, Deion is back. One last thing, because this is another level of doing things his way. Deion Sanders talking about the Colorado spring game. You ready for the Colorado spring game, Brenden? For our spring game, we're doing a whole prime weekend. A fashion show Thursday, something for the boosters on Friday, and the game on Saturday. We're doing an after party with white, black, and Hispanic DJs.
Specifically mentions that?
Yes, this I'm quoting verbatim.
Okay.
We're going to cover everybody, and then after the game, we're doing something with the alumni, but also maybe a halftime of the game on the rooftop. We're going to have somebody. Sanders said during an interview with rapper Lil Wayne. So you got fashion show, after party, halftime rooftop concert at the Colorado spring game. Do you remember like the rich kid that nobody liked, but you went to his house because he threw the cool parties? Like, this is Deion. It's like, hey, come to Colorado. Now, I don't know if it's going to work for recruits or not, but.
Who was that for you? You said across the street the Shockies were rich, but you said.
No, they weren't rich. They had the electronic battleship. They weren't rich.
Okay, who had like
we were all in the same like cul-de-sac middle class.
Who had like the Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis? Who had the video games? Curious.
Nathan Randall.
Yeah, because I remember
Nathan Randall had the pool.
Oh yeah,
nice
that
big
helps.
house and a pool.
Like I remember the kid in high school had the pool, and I remember the kids in middle school who were like, "Dude, I got the new Xbox 3." Like it was.
See, I wasn't a video game guy, so that was not quite my thing. But like, yeah, Nathan Randall had the pool. All right,
Man,
we gotta get to make or miss because Philip, you got me talking about Deion and I can't stop. I'm obsessed. It's my own problem. I need to just address it and deal with it. But coming up next, we've got make or miss on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, Jim Moore from KJ Radio up in Seattle is going to be joining us. Big Cougs fan. We'll get his thoughts on Washington State making an appearance in the big dance. They got Drake tonight, 7 o'clock, late game for the Cougs. I think they're in Omaha, Nebraska, I think is where they're at.
Feels very appropriate, Justin. We're talking about the Cougs when introduced by Washington Band themselves.
There you go. Wenatchee, I believe. No, not Wenatchee. They are from
This is going to someone screaming at their radio.
I think it's Wenatchee. It's not? Anyways.
Aberdeen. Thank you. Someone was screaming in their radio, and it was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, definitely not Wenatchee. But Jim Moore is going to be joining us.
You think the Cougs can make a run, or do you think they're gonna?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It's March Madness, right?
I kind of like the Cougs this year. I got them going, I think, to the Sweet 16.
Here's the hard thing with the Cougs for me, and again, this is not good breakdown. Okay, did I just admit that right now? This is not a good breakdown, but I think more people think like I do. I'm not used to the Cougs being there. We talk about uniforms are magic, right? I'm used to the Cougs stinking at basketball and being irrelevant and not being good. And so other than a handful of years ago when they had Klay Thompson, and who was the Hawaiian dude with the tattoo? Who was the Hawaiian dude on the Cougs? He had a big tattoo. Google Washington State basketball Hawaiian, and we'll probably give you the. Anyways, this is my uniforms are magic theory, which is like I am just not used to seeing.
Was it Derek Lowe?
Not Derek Lowe.
That was a ways back. That was like 09. I didn't know if it was quite that far. But yeah, didn't come up.
Anyways, but yeah, they can make a run. I mean, why not?
Just a cool story. It'd be the same way that, and again, something I'm sure Jim will mention too, Justin, is in the same way that, if Oregon State made the men's side, again, I think it's kind of cool that Washington State in their last year of being in the Pac-12 before they're jettisoned to the WCC like the Beavers, not their choice, literally just what had to happen. They're just like, hey, we're going to quietly go be one of the top teams in the Pac. They kind of faded a little bit down the stretch, but it's just awesome to see, man, because the Cougs, Justin, you can back me up on this.
Maybe it was Derek Lowe.
Okay.
It might have been it.
Justin's like, well, second thought.
I might have screwed. I think it might have been Derek Lowe now that I think about it.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, they haven't been relevant since Tony Bennett and Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
And Klay Thompson's, a grown man in the league and, pushing in mid-30s. So that's, it's been a while for the Cougs.
So, all that being said, is Jim Moore's going to be joining us coming up in about an hour from now, and we'll get some. You can not only get his thoughts on the Cougs. It's definitely Derek. I was also thinking you said Derek Lowe, and I was like, it's not him because that's a baseball player. But yeah, it's definitely that guy.
Well, there you go.
He was fun to watch. Big cool tattoo.
I'll take it. Had it right.
We'll also get Jim Moore's thoughts on what's going on with the Seahawks. He was not in on Geno last year. Is he now a Sam Howell guy? Is he in? So we'll talk to Jim in an hour. But right now it's time for Make or Miss. I'll be honest, there are some things that radio hosts are talented at different things in this game, and I've got some things that I'm fairly good at. Googling while talking, not my strong suit. It's not it. It's not my strong suit.
I've gotten better at it because you've tasked me to Google so many times.
Yeah. I am not good at Googling while talking.
Again, folks, behind the scenes,
and every second that ticks by when there's dead air, just like that. Every second that ticks by, I hear, it feels like an eternity in my head, and I'm like, you got to say something, dude. But yeah,
Let's go ahead and open up Make or Miss today, Justin, here on a March Madness
Yes.
Thursday. Start baseball, though. There's something funky with this Shohei Ohtani business.
Okay, so
something funky. I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying it's a little funky.
So this is a make. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to know ultimately. So here's the nuts and bolts of it. And I saw a thing on ESPN. So apparently, as we sit now, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, who is more than just an interpreter, right? This guy was handpicked, and Shohei Ohtani, according to multiple reports, does not speak English, like, at all.
Really?
Like, he does not. There are a lot of players, like, all right, Ichiro had an interpreter, but he could speak English, right? If Ichiro, like, there are plenty of reporters I know that worked up in Seattle, they're like, Ichiro could speak English. But there's a thing, and I'm not saying it's bad or good, it's what it is. Japanese players, if they start speaking to the media in English, it's almost a disrespect to their Japanese fans. So Japanese players, even if they can speak English at a conversational level, most Japanese players will use an interpreter because it is a sign of respect to their Japanese fans and to the country of Japan. So when I heard, like, oh, his interpreter was stealing, like, well, how's he stealing all this? Well, it turns out, unlike Ichiro and a handful of other players who could speak English, Ichiro could also speak Spanish.
But Ichiro was solid at he could hold. I mean, because I know Ohtani gave like his MVP speech in English. That was a big deal.
Yeah,
but like you're saying, for the most part, he doesn't really.
This is the report I saw.
Yeah,
I don't know Shohei Ohtani, and I don't know what he can and cannot speak. And also, I do know he is a national treasure to Japan, and so any bit of tarnish is like a lot of smoke. All right, a lot of smoke with this story, but it sounds like, according to ESPN, Shohei Ohtani does not speak an awful lot of English, and his interpreter may have been stealing, and he may have not been getting the proper information because his interpreter might have been lying. And so the Dodgers apparently had to get a secret meeting with Shohei Ohtani away from his interpreter to tell him, probably in very broken English or using talk to translate on the phone, like, you're missing $4 million. And it sounds like your interpreter has a gambling problem. So I guess the initial reports were that Shohei knew about this and he gave the interpreter the money as a gift. Now, Brenden, where did that story come from? It came from the interpreter, who it would basically benefit him. So then the story changed to where, no, this is massive theft. An interpreter has been fired. And they had to have a conversation with Shohei behind closed doors because they couldn't trust this guy, and Shohei doesn't speak an awful lot of English. At least not enough to maybe comprehend what's going on. So, and then there's, of course, the weird internet rumors that, like, is the interpreter throwing himself under the bus for Shohei? Does Shohei have a gambling problem? And then the interpreter has now come out and said, nope, it's all on me. I have a gambling addiction, but not baseball. I was not gambling on baseball, which, I don't have a gambling addiction. I'm very lucky I don't have a gambling addiction. I don't really have an addiction to anything. I'm very, very lucky that I don't have wiring in that way. Brenden, do you ever buy, like, when you heard, like, Tim Donaghy say, like, yeah, I've got a gambling addiction, but I never bet on basketball, not games that I officiate. It's like, you just said you're an addict, right? I know people that have, like, stolen their parents' wedding rings to sell it off to buy opioids because they were addicted. You're going to have that much self-control, you're a gambling addict, that you're not going. So this guy, this interpreter, is going to basically rack up a $4 million debt just on college football but not bet on baseball when you know the starting pitcher? buying it? I'm not.
No.
I'm not buying it. I'm too cynical. Like, you know the starting pitcher.
I think that some, yeah, like I said,
Baseball, like this is going to get, like you said, what did you call this? What did you describe?
funky.
Funky is an appropriate. I almost said appropriate, but we're trying not to say that word anymore. We got a little bit too fast and loose with that. That is an appropriate adjective.
Can I throw in another one? And this comes from a place of love, Justin, but another one that I've noticed that you say a lot recently.
Was it?
Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Dude.
Yeah, that's kind of been your thing lately. It's usually good for 1 or 2 times a show.
Well, it's just like I get so frustrated. It is a pet peeve of mine. It is a pet peeve of mine that, like, hey, we want all this attention. We want all this attention. We want this. We want this. And then you get it, and it's like, yeah, it's not what you thought it was, right? And I don't know of a better way to say it than welcome to the Thunderdome, right? Well,
bingo card hit for today.
Welcome to I say it in football all the time, like, welcome to big boy football, right? Oh, you want all the smoke? Because guess what? It's not all puppy dogs and rainbows over here. And so, yeah, that's one of my favorite. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
I've noticed that one, too, when you started to say, well, we've used apropos a lot. I'm like, what else have we used a lot? Oh,
but have you ever had that happen? Like, I base a lot of stuff off of, life in this business. Brenden, I wanted to be a radio host my entire life. I would go on these road trips with my dad. My dad would turn on talk radio. That was what we listened to. I wanted to do that. And I pulled it off. And I remember when I first got the job, and I was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Thank God there was no Twitter in 2004 when I started doing radio. But there was email, and anybody and everybody could email me. And there was, other ways to speak the displeasure of old Justin. And it was like, yeah, you wanted this. You want to be on the air? You want to be spouting hot takes? You want to just throw out opinions left and right, and then when people come back at you, you want to just cower and whine? No. Welcome to Thunderdome. It is not a fair game in the opinion business, just like it is not a fair in the sports world. It's not a fair game. The media world, not a fair game. Now, I don't buy the Shohei's interpreter was not betting on baseball. This is a scandal. It's one thing to have Pete Rose, the manager, but interpreter for the team who speaks English and Japanese, probably also speaks Spanish, knows everything going on, has a gambling addiction, is in the clubhouse day in and day out, member of the team. He's got a gambling addiction, racked up $4 million. He's not betting on baseball? I do not believe you, sir. Do not believe you one bit.
The question is, Justin, is this interpreter the scapegoat?
We'll never know. I will say this. Never say never. We will never know. If, in fact, he was, this will get buried. Buried. Why?
Because Magic Johnson owns the Dodgers, and this is their new shiny toy, and this is not what you want.
And more than that, what is baseball's biggest money-making appeal internationally?
Shohei Ohtani.
Yep.
In addition to the fact that
we are not upsetting this apple cart.
And help me out here, Justin. Other than the Yanks, who's a bigger brand than the Dodgers? And no disrespect to the Red Sox, but I think it's probably on par with the Dodgers. Like the Yanks, and then who else?
Yeah, Cubs.
Yeah, good call. But it's a short list, though, right? Like the Dodgers are.
It's the Yankees, Red Sox, the Dodgers. It's the Cubs, St. Louis Cardinals, but that maybe not. That might be a stretch.
Especially being in L.A. Yeah.
But especially now now that you have Shohei on your team, and look, baseball revenue is still as high as it's ever been.
Would people?
But internationally, this is the cash cow. If this was a cover-up, if this was an scapegoat, as you said.
Michael Scott, baby.
We're never going to know. Never. Never say never. We'll never know.
Yeah, and again, obviously, very different because we mentioned the international appeal. But, Justin, obviously Shohei Ohtani, I think, is a tremendous baseball player. But why do you think that, obviously, I think he's getting a lot of pub this year because they expect the Dodgers to be well after he's been on like a terrible team. But like, if Mike Trout was a Dodger, would we care? Would more people know about Mike Trout that are not baseball casuals who are like, yeah, I hear he's pretty good, but like he's never in the postseason, kind of a thing, right? So like, is that something where we still haven't really seen the peak of Ohtani because we haven't seen him be Mr. October yet?
We haven't seen the peak of Ohtani. The thing was, right now, it's a fascinating thing of he's doing stuff that hasn't been done since Babe Ruth.
Right.
Right. And, like, he's like Wemby, right? Wemby doesn't need to go to the postseason right now because he's doing things we've never seen. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
What is Wembanyama doing? Like, he takes one step from the three-point line and dunks it, right? Like, he doesn't have to go to the postseason because now, it sounds mean, but he's the circus sideshow. It's like, that's something I've never seen.
Yeah.
That's what Shohei did the last couple of years. He is pitching at a Cy Young level and leading the league in home runs. Now, obviously, he's got the elbow surgery, so he's only hitting this year. But, yeah, he's doing things that has never been seen before, and it's kind of a parlor trick. But, yeah, if he goes to the postseason.
But is there a baseball player who is known, like you could probably, like Justin and I love to talk about, like do the casuals know? I bet you a lot of casuals could probably tell you who Ohtani is.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people could tell you who Mike Trout is.
I think Mike Trout's, I think, a bad example.
Okay, Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Or like, it seems like Ohtani has been able to kind of,
Harper.
It seems like he's kind of been able to build upon, like you said, the fact that he does things, the fact that he's got the international bump. I mean, you told me.
Like, taking your argument and kind of flipping it, and I'm going to upset a lot of people. I'm going to upset. But you take Derek Jeter in his career, put him on the Colorado Rockies, he's Troy Tulowitzki.
Ooh, that could be.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Could be some fighting words there, Justin.
I know, 3,000 hits, but like, you take Jeter and you put him on the Colorado Rockies for his entire career. He's not
the captain?
He doesn't have a 8-part documentary, right? He might have an E60 profile, right? Like, he's Todd Helton. Todd Helton was great. Todd Helton played for the Rockies.
He doesn't own an MLB team right now.
Todd Helton had, like, unbelievable statistics. Played for the Rockies. Baseball people knew who Todd Helton was. Not a lot of other people did. I firmly believe that was Jeter. But a lot of people disagree with me, and that's fine.
Let's do one funny one to close out, Justin, then we'll get to it. But last one to close out, make or miss. Today has to be the NBA's worst viewership ratings of the entire year.
Saturday might be worse because you got that. I'm not joking. This Caitlin Clark thing is going to be
7 NBA games on today.
How many NBA games are on Saturday?
That's what I'm looking. Between 4 and 7:30. So that's not terrible, but there's games on at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Saturday, let's see.
How many games are on Saturday? Because
8, earliest one being 10 a.m. Yeah, good luck.
Saturday is going to be the worst, I believe, because I'm tuning into Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching second round games. We're going to be watching matchups, and Caitlin Clark. It's on ABC Saturday at noon.
Oh yeah.
Like, so you got that, and then not going to happen. All right, coming up next, wrap up hour number 2, 620 Rip City Radio. God, I love this song. I know it's inappropriate. And I know like not just like pretend to not know like the words, but man. Brenden, I do not know if you mentioned the joy you had of like certain songs when you were like 17 and playing them in your car, the parking lot at Sherwood. I do not know if you will ever understand the joy that when I put in that Genuine CD.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
The Genuine CD, as I was in my Dodge Neon, and yeah, Dodge Neons were cool in 1997. They were, and I'm a red Dodge Neon with my Genuine CD.
Dude, I can see you rocking that Eugene
factory speakers, windows down, bumping it.
So the city of Eugene was on notice that Justin
no, it wasn't
was
Eugene.
jamming.
This was Winston, baby.
Oh,
it was
okay,
Winston, baby. This is Eugene. No. This is Winston.
Okay, yeah. Because didn't that song come out in like,
No, that was 97.
Okay, I thought Genuine was like 01, 02. Okay,
no,
gotcha. Makes more sense.
It had a resurgence with the Magic Mike thing, but dude, Genuine was 90s, baby. And yeah. Lunch break, going to the now Winston Drive, and back then we called it the In and Out, for a student special.
Was that your favorite before you were an adult car? I think everybody has that before you were an adult car. And I'm curious, what was your first car again?
My first car was a 1984 Dodge Omni.
That's right,
it was a box on wheels.
Yes.
It worked though.
That's right.
Bought it from my Aunt Barb for $500.
Woo! Shout out.
It was and again, we talked about this before. There were no. You went in, you got your permit when you were 15. That's what I did. Then you went in, you passed the test. When you were 16, you get your license. You want to talk about really welcome to the Thunderdome? No restrictions. No restrictions. How many friends can ride with you? Unlimited. Can you drive it? You sure can. You went in one day, you had a permit, had to drive with your parents. You walked out the next day. You had a driver's license, and you were free. There was no only driving during the day to and from school for 6 months and only family members in the car like that. No. This was welcome to the jungle. You better learn how to drive real fast.
Yeah, I'm curious.
And so that Dodge Omni was 4 doors. You really were only supposed to have 5 people in it. I regularly put 6, because I've told this story before. This is small town stuff. You could only go off campus for lunch if you drove. I am a September birthday, so I got my driver's license before all of my friends did. So Myers has got a car. We're piling in 6 people in 4 seats, seatbelts kinda, driving to lunch. Because it's like either go to the cafeteria or you could go for a student special at the Winston Drive-In. And then a year later, the McDonald's would open up and we would go to the Mickey D's.
Yeah, that's clutch.
But that was there. There were no rules.
Yeah, I'm curious, Justin, just to get your reaction, because I don't know if we've ever done this before. Pop open the Google machine you got in front of you and look up 1995 Chrysler New Yorker. And that was Brendan's first car. And I'll leave it at that. And I just kind of want to get your raw reaction. The fact that I was jamming around Sherwood with that for a solid
95 Chrysler. Dude, that's a beautiful car.
It was a land yacht, baby.
That is a beautiful car.
It was out there, dude. Especially in Sherwood. It was like, woo! But yeah, I don't
know if your parents did this. My parents, like my first car, it was essentially like, you got to prove it that you're not going to ruin this. And so that's why I got that. And then I got ultimately a better car when I was like, okay, you have proven through the year. I got 1 speeding ticket. Oh, it was terrible. Got 1 speeding ticket, but like other than that, like I proved that I could do it. Then I got a better car, and to show my appreciation, I totaled it. Totaled that car.
Never had that happen to me, thankfully.
Ugh.
Knock on wood.
It was not fun. Driving home from Rachel Tomasini's house, my birthday, and I'm upside down in a ditch. It's bad.
I'm glad you're okay. That story doesn't
I made it.
that story doesn't always have a happy ending, man. Broken legs, broken bones. So
Yeah, it was good.
You were crawled out unscathed, though.
Yeah, played football that week.
Wow.
Boom.
Like,
we had a game.
I'm sorry, that story in itself. Like,
we had a game. Got to play glide.
Wow. That you very lucky. Very, very lucky.
I'm well aware. But and then I got my Neon, Dodge Neon.
Yeah,
baby.
okay, yeah, got you. Yeah, I went from that
And
to
I was
a
bumping
Jeep.
Genuine in the Dodge Neon. Let me tell you, it was a time to be alive. With the that, and I actually had a CD player that was the CD went in, which back then was a very big deal because the only other way to do it was you had the tape cassette
New York
adapter into the Discman, and your friend riding shotgun, they had to hold the Discman perfectly still because if you bumped it a little bit, it was going to skip on you. And they had these. Oh no, it's a spring platform. It didn't work.
Yeah,
You had that was the job of the shotgun rider.
Yeah.
Was like, it came, you want to ride shotgun? Great. It comes with responsibilities. You have to hold the Discman perfectly level and do not let it skip.
Yeah.
Like, that's your job, riding shotgun.
And not to mention that, just like with that, Justin, the New Yorker that I had a tape deck. This shows our difference slightly. Still a pretty old car, right? They figured out how to make a tape deck that was connected to an aux cord on the other end.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, but just plug into your phone. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Aux cord.
So I was like,
My
tape
aux
deck
cord-
to a phone? This is the coolest thing ever, man.
My aux cord plugged into Discman.
A little difference in our
All right.
times.
We got Jim Moore coming up in hour number 3. We got RCM Mailbag coming up in hour number 3. More March Madness talk coming up. That's all next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Happy March Madness Day, everybody. The first four concluded last night in Dayton, setting up the field of 64. Grambling State went to overtime and got the victory against Montana State. They will be facing off against Purdue tomorrow. Colorado gets into the field of 64 for the Pac-12 as they beat Boise State. Portland Trailblazers fell at home to the LA Clippers, 116-103. Blazers next up on Saturday, taking on the LA Clippers. And the March Madness begins today. Oregon will be tipping off against South Carolina, 1 o'clock from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Washington State will be in the evening session, 7 o'clock tip time, as they'll be facing off against Drake. Speaking of Washington State, friend of the program, Jim Moore, very big Coug, will be joining us in 20 minutes. We've got an RCM mailbag and a whole lot more fun in hour 3 as we start right now on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we are 1 hour and 13 minutes away. 1 hour and 13 minutes away from March Madness getting underway. We're going to talk some March Madness and Washington State. We'll also talk some Seahawks with Jim Moore coming up in 20 minutes. We will have an RCM mailbag, and then we are getting out of here because we got games to watch. It's our job. Sorry, it's our job. Got to watch them. And best of luck to all of you who are trying to I guess it's not really a sneaky thing to watch the games at work anymore. Like, that's another thing. Old man yells at cloud. Here comes Justin with a little grumpiness. But, like, it used to be a fun game. And I don't know what's going on with kids. Are kids even in school, or is it spring break?
They are.
They're in school right now. I saw, like, some kids are in spring break.
I think. At least for my brother, Sherwood.
The neighborhood kids, who I think who in my neighborhood are great. They're out and about. I don't know if they're on spring break, if it changes. Either way, it doesn't matter. But, like, if you were working in an office, like, you just have the game on your phone, right? Like, you don't have to sneak out to watch the games anymore. You can, if you are any good at multitasking, which I am not, and thankfully I don't have to sneak around to watch the games, but, like, if you were just somewhat good at multitasking, you could sit there at your cubicle, heck, even in a meeting, you just have the games on your phone. I guess it is kind of an outdated, oh boy, it used to be a very big deal. Real quick, story time with Uncle Justin. Gather around, kids. Take a knee. Helmet's not a chair. It used to be a very big deal to try to call in sick, right? You used to call in sick for the first or the second day of March Madness, and then obviously employers would catch wind of it, and they were like, we know you're watching. And so, like, that was always kind of a joke, was like Monday before March Madness, you had to lay the groundwork. You're like, oh boy, starting to feel something. You know, you had to you couldn't just on Wednesday evening or Thursday morning call in sick. You would get busted, right? Well, it became such a trope that, Brenden, I'm sure you've heard of this. I probably have also told the story before, but I'm sure you have heard of this, where men would get vasectomies today because you can't deny the vasectomy. A lot of people who are of my age are going through said procedure.
Why? I would love to know why. Please riddle me why.
I could tell you exactly why, but it gets into HIPAA.
Yeah, because it seems to me like something that a lot of pain for not necessarily a lot of gain.
Oh, it's a lot of gain. It's a lot of gain. All right. Again, I was kind of like you in now that I am 44, I see. I get it. And I have a wife, and again, there's one way to go about it, and there's another way to go about it, and one is very, very much easier. It just takes a little snip, snap, and it's done. It's done. All right, so
They say never say never. I say never. It's fun to make those declarations.
I will bet you any amount of money. I will bet you any amount of money. Because again, I say this with love, Brenden. You will one day be my age. And I look forward to the day when I get the brainwave, because we won't even be texting then.
Right,
I'll get like the
through the
brainwave,
Apple
and you will be like, Justin, you were right. You were right. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. Nevertheless, back to my story. It got to be such a thing where men would schedule vasectomies, which is a very minor procedure, I've heard. I have not gone through yet.
How is it minor?
It's from what it's not a very like you don't even go to the hospital. You go to a clinic. And the recovery though is 2 days. It's perfect. And the recovery is to sit. You sit, you get a bag of frozen peas on said appendage, and you watch games, right? Well, there were urology clinics that even offered up a promotion. Brenden, do you want to know who the first urology clinic in America was to offer up the vasectomy for the NCAA tournament? You want to know where that urology clinic is?
Indiana.
It is in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh.
Oregon Urology Institute was the first. They had a promo. You want to know what the promo was called? Snip City. Snip City was the name of the promotion.
I hope the YouTube audience just sees me shaking over here.
Wait. Oh, it gets so much better. This story is going to get so much better. So the Oregon Urology Institute in Eugene created the Snip City campaign, where they had, I think, 8 spots filled. One on Thursday, the other on Friday. And you go, you have procedure done. They give you a recovery kit with like pizza coupons and everything else, and you sit there and you watch the tournament as you recover. Now, if you were going to, I don't know, advertise this promotion on a media platform in the good city of Eugene, you would think the local sports talk show would probably be the place to do it, right? That was me. Brenden, I read the commercial for the initial Snip City campaign. I still believe I have a T-shirt because I got a Snip City T-shirt. And so there I am. I think I was 26 at the time. So I was your age at the time. And I first got this script, and I'm like, this is a joke. Ha, 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 ha. Very funny. And I emailed back the salesperson, this is a very funny joke. What's the prank? Who are we pranking? And they're like, this is very much a thing. This is 100% a real thing. And you need to read it. And so there it was. Hey, this is Justin Myers for Oregon Urology Institute. And if you ever wanted to get a vasectomy for the tournament, blah, 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 a very cutesy line at the end. Now, again, this has never happened before. Now it's kind of a thing. Brenden, this thing goes viral. Like, viral. Today's show is playing the commercial with my voice, talking about vasectomies. CBS, the early show, a particular radio program that is on at this particular time right now still. Not mine, but the other one. You know what I'm talking about. That show played it, and it's like, that's my voice. Hey, that's me. Talking about vasectomies. It was in Sports Illustrated. It was everywhere. I went viral. And the first, and I've never really gone viral since, not to this level. And you know what my viral moment was? 26-year-old Justin Myers talking about vasectomies. Talking about the Snip City campaign.
That's something. This conversation for me has been entirely uncomfortable. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a thing. What are you going to do? Probably more uncomfortable going to the dentist.
Yeah, see, no. It's
You say these things as if you know them. And it's like,
I don't.
have you known anybody that's done that? Because I have.
Yes, I have.
All right.
Now I'll say this: the only reason for me is as Justin's come out and said he says that he experiences more pain at the dentist, and the dentist can't be you've said this before, you don't feel that you have a high pain threshold.
Well, it's an actual scientific thing that people with red hair and blue eyes and freckles, we need more Novocaine, we need more painkillers than the average Joe. And so they didn't know that back in the 80s when I was going to the dentist, so I did not get enough Novocaine.
So with that, the idea,
and I was telling you no, it's not. I'm not numb. And the dentist was like, no, you are. You're just being scared, kid. And then he would drill, and it was like,
yeah, no. So in that same breath, just the idea of anything snip cutting all that down there, not making me too comfortable.
I can understand that.
Yeah, just yeah.
But imagine young radio host.
Oh yeah,
sitting there.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what are we doing? And then
that was your moment.
But I was like, what is this? Honestly, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, this is such a joke. Do they think I'm a joke? I was also a little too serious back then. I very much wanted to be taken seriously. That has gone out the window, as anybody that listens to this show knows. But I was like, well, how is this gonna, dude, just read it. It's a commercial, right? You read it, we'll play it. It's an advertiser on your show. You need advertisers, right? And I'm like, fine, I'll read it. A week later, I'm on the Today Show. Not me, I'm my voice. My voice is on the Today Show saying, lower your seed for the tournament. That's the tagline. That was the tagline. That was real. It was me. It was such a great campaign. Guess what? We did it again the next year. And then subsequent years after that, they then went and got a voiceover guy to do it. I was out, but I was the orig. I
just have a lot of thoughts.
For a fleeting moment of time, the host of this particular show. I was the national voice of vasectomies everywhere.
I just have a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions, and I don't. Yeah, I'm like
It was me.
Well,
I did it.
Yeah,
I think it's still on YouTube somewhere.
I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised there's that much of a campaign about it, Justin.
It worked. It was it was massively popular.
But
massively popular.
There's other methods of birth control out there, right?
Dude, during the break, we're gonna have a guy-to-guy talk that we're not going to talk about on the microphone. We'll have a little
I can't wrap my head around this, folks.
We'll have a little guy-to-guy talk, and you will understand. Maybe you won't. I don't know, but I'll just have a little
March Madness and this. Never would have thought those two things go hand in hand.
And that I was the bridge,
or that
I was the bridge between
surprising
the two.
Things today.
A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
I thought I told this story before. Maybe.
I must have missed it.
You might have been in Florida or something. I don't know. But I've definitely told the story before. Yeah, there it was. Me. Snip City, baby. Lower your seed for the tournament. All right. Coming up, Jim Moore is going to be joining the program. We're going to talk the Cougs. They're taking on Drake. Also, Cougs getting some more money with the Beavs in the college football playoff. So that was helpful. Washington's without an AD. Do they go poaching in Pullman? And we'll also get his thoughts on things going on with the Seattle Seahawks heading into the draft. But before we do all that, I do want to tell you again about DeBella, who is Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. And they are offering up an incredible deal right now. Not only can you take advantage of their award-winning customer service, not only can you update your roof with solar shingles and potentially pay for that roof with savings to your energy bill, and maybe become eligible for federal or state incentives. And also maybe you could take advantage of their award-winning customer service that has received accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor, doing all of that for zero down and no payments until 2025. That's right. There's still a lot of 2024 left. Zero down and no payments until 2025. But you got to contact DeBella. Their estimates are always free. They are super easy. They have all the information on potential federal and state incentives, and they will schedule on a time that works for you, especially maybe if you're trying to jump around basketball games today. So contact DeBella today for a free, no obligation appointment. They are the Oregon experts when it comes to roofing, windows, siding, and bath projects. DeBella, the Oregon experts. All right, we are less than an hour away. Games are going to be tipping off in about 54 minutes. I believe games are going to be tipping off. Oregon is taking on South Carolina. That's a 1 o'clock tip time for the Ducks. The Cougs of Washington State punched their ticket to the big dance, and they're going to be taking on Drake. That game is a late tip. 7:15. I think that game's in Omaha. Joining us now, friend of the program, one of my favorite Cougs. I got a lot of favorite Cougs. This guy, at least tied at the top of the list. He's a friend of the program from Sports Radio KJR up in Seattle. Jim Moore back on the big show. Good morning, Jim. How we doing?
Doing great, Justin. I'm already nervous, already fired up for the game tonight, and hoping that it's going to be a celebration night. But being a Coug, there's always in the back of your mind thinking, how are we going to blow it tonight?
All right, well, let's get to some positives, Jim. All right, because it was a tough rebuilding process after Tony Bennett left Washington State, and those were kind of the glory years of the Cougs, and then the Ernie Kent experiment did not work out, and then it was kind of a tough. How did the Cougs get back to this situation, being arguably the second best team in the conference this year, it looked like the Pac-12 might just be a two-bid conference. How'd the Cougs build it up?
Well, it all goes to the coaching staff, and in particular Kyle Smith and the job that he's done. I'm amazed at we lost a bunch of players. I mean, most programs do every year, transfer portal, graduation, whatever else. And, he just somehow got some talented guys. I mean, that's the thing about the Cougs this year. When I watch them, I'm going, okay, not everyone has to have a good night for us to win. And so everybody's always picking up each other. And we only go like 7.5 deep. But, I mean, this team, when you watch, I don't know if you've watched them much this year, but we get good center player. We have a couple of guys, Clough and Chinyelu, that complement each other really well. Yakimovsky's been off a little bit lately, but Isaac Jones has been a force inside. I mean, he was an NWAC guy. Justin, he was an NWAC guy at Wenatchee Valley. Then he went to Idaho, and then he transferred 8 miles over to Pullman, and he's been sensational. And then Miles Rice, the point guard. Boy, everybody who's a Coug fan, though, we all love Miles Rice. And, beating cancer last year, coming back, freshman of the year, he's been really, really good overall. But, oh, my God, he's just been awful on threes. Justin, he hasn't hit a three in more than a month.
Oh, my
He's
God.
0 for 24. I mean, I could hit a three. You could hit a three. Anyone
I could
could
throw
hit a
one up
three.
there.
Your listeners could hit a three. Huh?
I could at least get one of them up there.
I think so. And I was down at the Pac-12 tournament, and I was watching him at halftime. He made 5 of 6. When it doesn't count, it's like us at the range, in golf. So, anyway, I think, how did it happen? I don't really know, except for I think we have a hell of a coach, and I hope that everybody stays away from him once the season's over, because he's going to have all kinds of offers.
Jim Moore from Sports Radio KJR up in Seattle, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so how far do you have? Did you fill out your bracket, and how far did you put the Cougs, or are you just going single game bets here?
Oh no, I have a bracket. I filled it out last night. I got the Cougs, I think, going to the Elite Eight.
Nice.
I do all of this stuff with my heart. Everybody always says, "Don't bet with your head, bet with your heart." Well, I got $200 on the Cougs tonight. I don't care. I'm just going to go with it. And one of the things I like about the Cougs tonight is that everybody seems to love Drake.
Yeah.
And one of my betting things is that when everybody's loading up on one side, you go the other way. And it seems like, from what I've read, most of the action's going on Drake tonight because of their experience in the tournament. They've been to the tournament 3 of the last 4 years. And they've got this great, guard, DeVries, the coach's kid, and he averages 22 a game. So I get why there's – and then Drake – explain this to me, would you? They're a 10 seed, and they get seeded out in Omaha, which is 2 hours from Des Moines where their campus is. So it's going to be like a road game for the Cougs tonight. It won't be like a road game for Drake.
I mean, here's the thing, though. I will say, you talked about when all the people start liking one particular team. Here's the other thing I've noticed,
Yeah.
Jim. And again, take this with a grain. I've won one bracket my entire life, so I've won one. So take that with the grain of salt. But whenever you start hearing people like Auburn has been complaining about having to go to Spokane, right? Whenever you start hearing about fans complaining about the travel or that team always loses. Not the team that's complaining, the team that always seems to have the advantage. That's why I picked Auburn to have success in Spokane, because everybody's complaining about it. Usually when you ever see like, oh, such and such got essentially a home game, those teams always end up blowing it. So I think that might be good news for the Cougs. I don't have any numbers to back it up, but I just believe that.
I hope you're right. And I was talking about it with another Coug at the station, Ian Furness, and it's like, if you had said before the season that on March 21st the Cougs are going to be in the NCAA tournament as a 7th seed, we'd have been like, yeah, right. We might make the NIT, but we're not going to be making the big dance. And yet here we are. And so, yeah, it's really, I'm trying to be objective about this for the benefit of your listeners, but it's hard for me to do that because I just love the Cougs so much. But I like our team. I really think we have a good team. I mean, we could do some damage in the tournament, or, tomorrow you'll wake up and go, well, the Cougs blew it again. So who knows? But I like our chances tonight. I bet 200 on the game. I'm a fool, man. I don't care. I'm just going to ride with the Cougs. So.
Jim, here's the thing. Jim Moore, friend of the program from KJR Radio in Seattle. Jim, here's the thing about the listeners here, and they've figured this out as we have done this show. When we bring guests on, especially guests whom I am friends with. Remember a couple years ago, everybody in Seattle were all like, let Russ cook. Look, I let Jim cook, okay? I don't want you to be something you're not, right? When I bring you on the show, I want Jim Moore to cook. I want the go-to guy, okay? So, yeah, give me all of your Coug madness. Give me all of your crazy bets and all your crazy. I want Jim Moore to cook for the next 12 minutes.
Okay. I already got fired by the station that would have fired me for talking about gambling. If I said I was betting $200 on the game, I'd have been fired twice. But anyway, yeah, I probably will have more than 200 by the time tip-off gets here, especially if I have a couple of cocktails. And so last night I was scouting it out. I'm going to watch it up in the Lakewood area of Tacoma. That's where my son goes to school there. And he's so fired up about the whole thing, because he's just Justin, he even said to me, he texted me after one of the Coug games, when it looked like we were going to make the tournament. And he goes, Dad, I'm probably going to have tears once they make the announcement on Sunday. And thank you so much for forcing me to watch Cougar basketball when I was growing up, meaning that, now it was all worth it because we had so many of those. You mentioned Ernie Kent, some of those down years we've had. And so now it's worth it because this is really special. It's so funny. It sounds like, God, I handcuffed my kid to the couch and forced him to watch Cougar basketball. And the thing I don't like, and I do like at the same time, all these people that are all of a sudden going, oh, God, we're big Coug basketball fans. No, you weren't. Not until we got good this year. We've been following this Horsebleed team for a long time. Go ahead. You can kind of sample the bandwagon if you want, but get the hell off after it's over.
I mean, still, like 2,000 people, games at the people showing up to the games. You guys like second place in the Pac-12. Like, still nobody in Pullman's like, oh, there's a game tonight? Yeah, come on board. Jim Moore.
Justin.
Yeah.
Justin, I finally went to a game, the last game against the Huskies. Of course, we lose. I finally show up in Pullman and we lose. But anyway, they're looking good going into the tournament, though.
All right, let's talk some Pac-12, Jim, because it looked like the Pac-12 was going to be a two-bid conference. It was just going to be Arizona and your Cougs. And then Oregon makes a run down in Vegas. Colorado gets in, and then they won the play-in game yesterday. That's not the tournament. That's the play-in game. And now you got 4 teams in the Pac-12. Let's start with the Ducks because, again, you're kind of my enemy is my friend, right? Because you don't like the Huskies. We don't like the Huskies. So we just kind of handshake agreement. But the Huskies stink at basketball, and they're out of it. So where are you at with the Ducks? They're 1.5 favorites against South Carolina.
No, I really like the Ducks. I do. I was down, like I said, I was down in Vegas, and yeah, it was stupid, Justin. I mean, I tried to keep up with one of my kids, drinking down in Vegas. I'm 66. What a mistake. God, I was in bed the whole next day. hangovers used to get over at noon. Not so much anymore. I mean, they can last the whole weekend now. But anyway, we watched the Oregon-Arizona game, and so the first half I'm going, oh, God, the Ducks are going to lose by 20. And then the second half, they were great. It was unbelievable. It was so much fun because we got so sick of all the Arizona fans down there and at the beer house right outside T-Mobile Arena. I mean, they just flocked in there, and I think it was like a given they were going to win the Pac-12 tournament. And McHale North, that's what they call T-Mobile, and everybody wearing their shirts. And so I think the Ducks are on a roll here. I think they're playing for Altman. Looked like he was going to retire. And now look at the Ducks. I mean, I've got them going to the Final Four, okay? So I'm going to ride Oregon all the way to the Final Four and hope they can do it.
I mean, if they pull that off, that's going to be a bracket to frame. If Oregon pulls off the Final Four.
You don't think they have a shot at going very far?
I've got them going to the Sweet 16. But again, here's the thing, Jim. Just like you have the benefit of watching the Cougs all season long, I also have the benefit of watching the Ducks all season long. And everybody saw them win 3 games in Vegas and thinks, oh, they're back. It's like, no, I watched these guys play inconsistent basketball for the last 4 months, and I can't forget that, right? Not all the stuff, all the injuries and all the inconsistencies weren't all fixed by just 3 wins there in Vegas, one of which was a 2-point win against UCLA that opening day. So it's like, I've got him going to the Sweet 16. Altman always seems to be able to figure out things in March. Final Four as an 11 seed's a bit of a stretch, even for this Oregon homer.
I like your center.
Yeah, he's good. He's good when he's healthy.
Yeah, no.
It's always tough, though. He's not always healthy.
I just remember the Oregon game in Pullman earlier this year when they hit like 13 threes. I mean, they can – I really like the Ducks. And Colorado last night beating Boise State. Liked what I saw from Colorado, too. I mean, they knocked the Cougs out of the Pac-12 tournament. I think they've won 9 out of their last 10 games. The only loss being the game to Oregon in the championship. So, yeah, it's – and then, of course, as Cougs and Beavs, we're rooting for all these teams because apparently we get $2 million for each game that they continue to play. So I'm hoping it's an all Pac-12 Final Four.
Yeah, you and super producer Brenden, who is a Beav, you guys are pulling for all the upsets and all the I think it's the units. You get $2 million each and every time. So yeah, every time a team moves on, that's back in the coffers because you might need them. Because Jim, I hear like Washington might start trying to poach your athletic director. Your boy Softy up there is already calling for like they're trying to go get your athletic director. Does that create some awkwardness in the office a little bit? Well, yeah, it irritated me. I mean, there's a guy I don't know. Yeah, there's this guy named Softy on our station, and he does an afternoon show, and this is hilarious to me. So he's like this big husky honk, you know. He loves his huskies, and that's fine. But when he was talking about Troy Dannon leaving yesterday, he was like kind of bent out of shape because. And I didn't even get along with Troy Dannon. Troy Dannon and I had kind of a chilly relationship. And I'm thinking, you think Troy Dannon gives a damn what some sports talk show guys think about him? I mean, it's just like, oh, man, well, we got to get an AD in here that likes Softy. I mean, we got to make sure that number one on the list, hey, are you going to stay more than, 6 months? That's probably number one. But number two, you got to like this radio personality guy over here in Seattle, too, before you can take the job. So anyway, I just found the whole thing comical. I tried to be professional on the air yesterday, but the part that bothers me the most is there's no loyalty, no integrity, no nothing anymore in college athletics. If I'm Troy Dannon, I'm thinking, God, this is a Nebraska job. This would be great. Grew up in Iowa, Seattle. I don't like the political climate here or whatever. Whatever he doesn't like about being the Husky AD, I would have said it's too soon. Too soon. Yeah. I can't take it. If you get back to me in a year or two, I'll take it. I can't do it now. The optics of it and everything. I couldn't do it. I hope he's a miserable failure there. I really do. And this crap about the UW president, she had the statement where everybody always wishes the person well. No, she doesn't. She doesn't wish him well. She wants him to be a failure. She's screwing her school. Or he is. And so, anyway, yeah, I got a little worked up on the air yesterday. I just thought it was Bush League on his part. But
the other part of it that I like, though, it's when the Huskies are in turmoil, I love it.
Yeah,
I
it's fun.
absolutely love it. I mean, that national championship run that they had in football, or close to it anyway, I mean, God, that was monotonous, and I couldn't stand it. And now things are back to normal.
By the way, I once played a celebrity slow pitch softball game with Rob Mullins, Oregon's AD, and got along with him great. So I think he's fantastic. This radio host,
Okay.
thumbs up, approval
I mean,
to
he
Rob
gets on
Mullins.
you, yeah, and I just didn't get along with him. Oh, well, God. Well, we got to get a guy that gets along with you.
All right, Jim Moore, KJR Radio up in Seattle. I can't let you get out of here without talking some Seahawks first. I know you were never on the Geno Smith train, and I've always wondered kind of where the Seahawks fans kind of feel about Geno. Kind of felt like a rebound after a long-term relationship with Russ, and the fact that Russ was failing, it kind of made Geno seem a little bit better than maybe he was. And I know there were times you were calling for maybe Drew Lock to get in there. Now they go and get Sam Howell. They said he's coming in to be a backup. You buying it? You buying John Schneider saying that Geno is the guy and that they definitely brought in Sam Howell to be the backup?
Well, yeah, I am buying it initially, and then it's just all going to depend on how Geno plays. And you're right. I was backing Drew Lock because I was always saying, well, we know what Geno's ceiling is. We don't know what Lock's is. And as it turns out, Lock is probably destined to be a backup quarterback his whole time in the NFL. But now with Sam Howell, though, I mean, this guy, I mean, he's only 23 years old. He started a bunch of games there in Washington, and I think one of them that caught the attention of John Schneider, the GM, was the game against Seattle when he threw for 300-plus yards, and I don't think he had any interceptions. I know his body of work, though, 21 interceptions last year, 21 touchdowns, and sacked 65 times or something. But I think they saw enough in that game. He also had a game against Philadelphia where he threw for nearly 400 yards. So, I mean, this kid's talented. I like him. I mean, he's mobile, move around, but we'll see. It's Geno's job until he has a horrible game, and then all that stuff that Schneider said about him just being the backup will go out the door.
Jim Moore, you can follow him on X or Twitter at CougsGo. You can hear him on KJR Radio up in Seattle. And, hey, good news also, Jim, because we had Brady Henderson on the show recently, and your appearance last time did not dissuade him from coming back on the show when you called out his manhood with regard to the whiskey that he drank. And so you did not derail the show from another guest in Brady. He managed to come back on the show.
Okay, did he confirm that story, though?
He did confirm the story. He didn't. Now he also
Okay,
did.
okay.
He
So
did
I
confirm
wasn't BSing or anything.
the bourbon story. Did not confirm the fact that you said maybe he was trying to make up for something with that. That was not confirmed.
Oh, that wasn't. Okay, whatever. I love Brady. Brady every once in a while just sends me, just out of the blue, he'll send me pictures from wherever he's golfing. He's got his middle finger right in front of his face, aimed at me. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna send you pictures. 2 thumbs up, Jim, because that's what this appearance was. As always, you bring the heat. 2 thumbs up. You make me smile. Always love talking to you. Hey, have a great show. Enjoy the tournament. Best of luck to the Cougs. Might be a late one tonight. It might be. I don't even know if I'll make it to the second half because morning show guy. But best of luck.
Yeah, you will. Come on.
Yeah, probably will.
Come on. Yeah. You're
I'm
gonna be rooting for the Cougs, aren't you?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I don't know anything about Drake. I don't care about Drake. I did pick the Cougs in the bracket, though. I went very pro Pac-12 in my bracket, so I got the Cougs moving on. I don't know if I have them. Moving beyond the second round, though. But first round, I'm with you.
Okay.
Hey.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
When the dogs start barking, that means they're tired of our nonsense, and it's time to wrap up the segment.
Yeah, that's a neighbor dog. I'm out just kind of walking my dogs. I'm down here in Bend, Oregon. I'm driving back up to Seattle this afternoon, though. So sorry about the dog there.
No worries. Hey, drive safe, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
There we go. Jim Moore, everybody. I just want to let Jim cook. That's it. I want the go-to guy. Coming up, I'm going to let Brenden cook. We got the RCM mailbag, random questions, any subject, any topic, and then we get ready for basketball, about to tip off all day long. But one more segment of business to do, and that is next on 620 Rip City Radio. All right. Let's wrap up the big show. Get you ready to attack your Thursday. Wish you all a Merry March Madness. Wish you all the best luck with regard to your particular brackets. May all your Cinderellas get the big win, whether it's today or tomorrow. And may you keep the, even though I know it's just delete the app now instead of actually burning your brackets, but keeping the lighter away from your bracket. And hopefully it is not busted within the first couple of hours of March Madness. But before we get off to the games, we have to get to the RCM mailbag. Here we go.
All right, Justin. What amount of brackets, if somebody told you they filled out, would you say, A, you have no life, B, you're a psychopath?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in that range. Like what's the number?
I think double digits is the number.
Okay, so
I
I've
do.
survived Justin's
I think double,
mark.
like if you have more than 10 okay, now let me preface
combined or each? So I have over 10 combined.
No, each.
Okay, good.
Now let me say that if it's in, I understand filling out the, we're Fox Sports, right? Like the Fox Sports one where it's free and you might win $1 million. Why not? Right? I'm with you there. Like fill it out, put your email in there, and boom, you might win $1 million or something. So if you want to fill out those, but like in terms of actual pools of like whether it's the office, whether it's a friend group, whether it's your buddies from college, you know what I mean? Your fantasy football league, all that. If you have more than 10 of those, it might be time to evaluate some decisions in
Check
your
out
life.
some things in your life.
It might be time to, take a look in the mirror. But again, I'm a one bracket guy. I fill out one bracket. I don't like filling out multiple brackets, but I have since become I'm a live and let live guy. I used to look down upon this. I used to actually almost say you're not supposed, you can do whatever you want. For me though, one bracket, one and one only. And I am putting all of my faith in Calvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars. Here we go, Cougars. Here we go.
Kelvin Sampson, longtime coach, one of the very best. And I'll say this, Justin, the year Oregon State went on their magical run, they ran into a really good Houston team. Kelvin Sampson, they play great ball. So I would not be surprised to see Houston have a good showing.
Well, because I wanted to pick, you got to try to pick the winner, but I also did not want to pick UConn or Purdue because everybody else is picking them. And I also didn't want to pick Arizona because I have no faith in Arizona.
What's your near lock upset? I'm curious. One, like maybe it's 5-12. What's one where you're like, yeah, it's happening?
Do you count Duquesne over BYU? That's an 11/6.
I sure would.
I got Duquesne over BYU. I really like Duquesne there. The problem is everybody likes Duquesne there.
The craziest that I threw out in one of my brackets is I didn't have any 2s beating 15s or 1 beating 16s.
Mm-hmm.
Morehead State over Illinois. That's my crazy, bold throw out an upset. I think of all the 3-14s, but usually one happens, and I've heard some good things on Morehead State. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and see if we can get into a couple non-male or non.
One more, and I didn't pick it, but I'm just going to say it right now. Watch out for it.
Sure.
Vermont over Duke.
Ooh, I did look at that one.
Vermont over Duke.
Yeah, I did look at.
Vermont won 28 games this year.
Yeah.
And Duke, kind of soft.
I love it. But yes, I'm so excited to be able to talk about it tomorrow, and Justin and I will see our destroyed brackets.
I don't know. I'm still holding. Luckily, Houston doesn't play until tomorrow.
Okay, so you're champion.
I can still
keep a champion.
As long as North Carolina doesn't lose to Wagner in about 4 hours.
Yeah,
I think I'll be all right.
So what do you think? You know what? Let's just stick with this because this will be kind of fun. Justin, what do you think if you're like, say you're the coach of like a 16 seed.
Mm-hmm.
You're like a Wagner. You're who's the other one up?
Longwood, Stetson, and Grambling.
Okay. Say you're one of those teams and you're the head coach, Justin. Or even, let's just stick with those. But how would you motivate your team? Say
nothing to lose.
Like, say you're one of those teams.
You got nothing to lose. There is no pressure.
Like, what's your pregame? You giving like a Kurt Russell and oh gosh, help me out here.
A miracle, like
Thank
10 out
you.
of 10. The Russians will beat us maybe
Yes,
9
like,
times,
you
but
giving
not,
that speech
not
or-
tonight.
Yeah, that's
I
such a-
don't think so. I think it's hey, we got nothing to lose. Like they're like, go out there, play fast, loose, and knock down some shots. They've got all the pressure. We don't have any of the pressure, right? That's the way I would do it.
Yeah, I think that's smart. But yeah, I was just curious. Like, it makes you wonder. Like, did the Maryland Baltimore County coach a couple years ago literally be like, we played him 100 times or 10 times?
But it was like last year, Fairleigh Dickinson, like they had because they were playing Purdue, who was big, and Fairleigh Dickinson was just like, we're gonna run them
And
up
shoot
and down
threes, yeah.
and shoot three and run them and beat. And they were too like Purdue did not know how to guard a team of that small stature. And the other thing is, I think some of these 1 seeds, not anymore because of what happened to Virginia, but a lot of times I think the 1 seeds are like, we're not going to scout them. We're going to scout the team ahead. And also it's like, whoa. Like that happened to UCLA back in the 90s when they lost to Princeton. It's like they did not know what offense they were running. They're like, we didn't scout them.
They didn't know what
Anyways.
off. Yeah, it's true.
I think it's time to wrap up the big show. Let's get to the madness. Big thanks to Jim Moore. Thanks to super producer Brenden. And thanks to all of you. We are back tomorrow morning bright and early to wrap up the week on a Fancy Coffee Friday on 620 Rip City Radio.